12.12b is a relatively small patch, but it targets many of the problematic champions. Kench, Senna, Bel'Veth, and Zeri have all been nerfed, so it's time we give you guys a complete update on the solo queue tier list, thanks to the help of our challenger players and analyzing the most recent data. But before we get into it, be sure to check out SkillCapped if you want to truly get better at League of Legends. We're the only service that offers a money-back guarantee if you don't climb at least 5 divisions while actively using our service. We do this because our service really does work, and if it doesn't work for you, you shouldn't pay. Learn more at the end of this video or click the link in the description below. Tom had a couple good patches dominating the solo queue meta, but the nerfs this patch have something to say about that. Passive bonus damage has been reduced from 4% to 3% bonus health. This is actually a sizable nerf considering Tom's passive damage is from point-and-click autos. Flat out losing 1% bonus health damage may not seem like a lot on paper, but it will heavily affect Tom's viability. Unless you're a Tom main though, I'm sure most top lane players welcome this nerf and will be happy Tom drops out of OP tier for 12.12b. With Tom being the only top lane change of the patch, let's jump right into the tier list. Darius is without a doubt the most OP top lane carry of the patch, so he locks down the only OP tier slot. Most players are really sleeping on these tanks picks like Sejuani, Ornn, Poppy, and Shen, as they aren't being played very often but offer a ton of strength due to recent tank item buffs. Heimer top is even a really interesting pickup right now for solo queue, as he was just buffed and wins a vast majority of his matchups. Tryndamere has been really liking the past few patches, as his direct buffs combined with Blade of the Ruined King being a super strong rush item has seen him rise in strength. Best low elo top lane picks of the patch include Garen, Mord, and Yorick. Ornn, Darius, and Mord are some of the best ban options. The recent Shaco buffs accomplished absolutely nothing in regards to boosting his power level, so Riot has issued a few more in 12.12b. Passive AD ratio has gone up from 15 to 25%. Q AD ratio goes from 40 to 50%. W cooldown dropped from 16 to 15 seconds, while the W duration AP ratio goes from 5 to 10%. The thing about these buffs is that they increase Shaco's scaling power, but don't actually offer him a ton of strength in the early game. Shaco isn't a champion you're picking to scale for late, so even with these buffs, we can't see him making a push back into meta. A base damage buff would go much further in actually pushing Shaco up the tier list. Riot has once again targeted Bel'Veth's scaling power with the 12.12b nerfs. AD growth has gone from 2 to 1.7, while health growth dropped from 105 to 99. E cooldown has been increased at the later ranks, while E lifesteal dropped from 20 scaling to 26% to 20% at all ranks. Our bonus health ratio has taken a nosedive from 165 to 120% bonus AD. All things considered, these are pretty fair nerfs, and Bel'Veth will remain a strong jungler, just not the OP pick from 12.12. The build our challenger jungler Skillshot really likes, consisting of Blade into Frostfire, will become even stronger now as the ult nerf drops the power of more offensive builds. Wukong has been in our OP tier for jungle over the past couple of months now, but that comes to an end in 12.12b. E damage to monsters has dropped from 160 to 120%. R cooldown has been nerfed at the earlier ranks, going from 120 to 130 seconds at rank 1. As a result of these nerfs, Riot is trying to push jungle Wukong down the tier list, but they don't want top lane Wukong to suffer as much, hence the damage to monster nerf. Nerfs will see Wukong jungle lose a good chunk of power, so he'll be giving up his OP tier slot. Riot has already released the list of changes for 12.13, and Volibear nerfs are penciled in, so this will be the last patch of Volley in the OP tier. Zac, Diana, and Nunu will be joining him, as they're all thriving with these hybrid tanky bruiser builds. All three can abuse Demonic Embrace, which is a really strong item right now for the current meta if your champion can utilize it. Amumu is another Demonic Embrace jungler who was just recently buffed and is a very sleeper OP pick for 12.12b. Tanks and bruisers are definitely where it's at right now, as assassin junglers are not having a great time in this more durable meta. Amumu, Volibear, and Shyvana are our top 3 low elo recommendations for jungle. Volley, Bel'Veth, and Diana are the highest priority jungle bans. Katarina's solo queue win rate fell off a cliff after the 12.12 changes, so Riot has issued a few buffs for 12.12b. Passive dagger AP ratio has been increased from 55 scaling to 88% to 65 scaling to 95%. Q base damage is up by 5 at all ranks, while the AP ratio is up from 30 to 35%. Ultimate AD ratio per dagger has been increased from 16 to 18%, while the scaling has gone from 16% per 70% bonus attack speed to 18% per 60% bonus attack speed. On hit ratio on ult has gone up from 28 scaling to 38% to 30 scaling to 40%. What these changes mean is that a Nashor's Tooth becomes even more of a staple in Katarina's build. AP ratios being increased combined with attack speed buffs give you no choice but to rush Nashers. The AD builds are likely completely phased out now, and we go back to seeing Katarina played as more of a bursty assassin. Not ideal for the current meta, but we just can't see how building Bruiser will be optimal after these changes. Cat will be moving up one tier, going from B into A. Cat being the only mid lane change means our tier list doesn't shift a whole lot for 12.12b. Anivia, Victor, and Swain are going to continue to dominate as the most OP solo queue mid laners. Despite Seraphine seeing a few nerfs, she's still going to be in a stronger state than she was last patch, so she'll continue to be a great mid lane pick. At least until 12.13, scaling mid laners with strong consistent damage will remain the most optimal picks for solo queue. Lethality items will be seeing a small buff soon, but we'll have to wait a while longer for that to hit live. The best low elo mid laners are Veigar, Malzahar, and Annie. Yone, Victor, and Kassadin are a few of the highest value bans for mid lane. The lone ADC buff for 12.12b is Caitlyn, with her passive damage increased from 50 scaling to 100 to 60 scaling to 110% total AD. W has actually been nerfed though, with the base damage lowered from 60 scaling to 240 to 40 scaling to 220. Bonus AD ratio is dropped from 40 scaling to 100% to 40 scaling to 80%. If Riot were to just buff Kate's passive without the W compensation nerf, we'd see her as a good A tier ADC, but due to the W change, she'll remain in B tier for now. Another Zeri nerf has been issued with her ultimate bonus movement speed lowered from 1 to 0.5%. As a result of this nerf, we expect Zeri to fall slightly, but it won't be enough to push her out of meta. A tier is where Zeri will be placed for 12.12b. The ADC tier list will feature Seraphine, Twitch, and Jhin as the premier carry picks. Of course, Seraphine has been nerfed, but to be completely honest, the fact that she held a 57% win rate prior to the nerfs means she won't be falling out of meta. Even if Seraphine's win rate were to drop a few percentage points, she'd still be stronger than the majority of bot lane picks, which is absolutely insane. Strong scaling bot lane carries remain the most optimal for solo queue, as picks like Vayne, Kog'Maw, and Twitch are cut above more early game reliant ADCs like Kate, Lucian, and Kalista. Veigar, Misfortune, and Seraphine are the best bot lane carries to climb low elo the fastest. Seraphine, Zeri, or Twitch are well worth a ban in 12.12b. Seraphine nerfs bring her back down to earth ever so slightly, but won't result in a considerable shift in power. Passive AP ratio is lowered from 6 scaling to 9% to 7% at all ranks. ECC duration is going from 1.5 to 1.25 seconds. So what Riot has done here is partially reverted the E buff and nerfed Seraphine's passive damage only at the later stages. All in all, Seraphine will still be in a stronger position than she was prior to the 12.12 buffs, so there's no reason to drop her as a result of these nerfs. Seraphine was without a doubt the best enchanter support in 12.12, but she will now move back down to the level where most other enchanters are positioned, still strong, but just not OP. Some much needed Leona buffs have hit the rift, with her passive damage increased from 25 to 32 and the scaling increased as well from 7 to 8 per level. Taking into account Leona has been a bottom of the barrel support for many patches, even though this buff is nice, it won't drastically increase her priority. We will be giving Leona the bump from C tier into B, but there will still be many other stronger supports you can play. Another round of Senna nerfs have been released, and they actually hit her a substantial amount. Base health drops from 560 to 530. Q base damage has been lowered by 10 at all ranks. W root duration is chopped by 0.25 seconds at all ranks. Riot's been playing it very slowly in nerfing Senna, as they don't want to give her a killing blow due to all the skins they sell. However, this patch has her dropping out of OP tier. And the final change of 12.12b is to everyone's favorite support, Yuumi. Passive bonus range is dropping from 50 to 0. This will hurt Yuumi's laning phase slightly, but doesn't really matter, especially once you reach the mid to late game. No reason to drop Yuumi or stop banning her as a result of this nerf. This is the first patch in a long time where we don't have multiple supports in the OP tier, as Renata Glask is a cut above everyone else. This means there are many good S tier supports though, as so many enchanters are great, while Blitz and Amumu are two of the better melee supports you can play. Lots of pros have been picking Amumu support back up and are finding a ton of success running a Glacial with Even Shroud setup. Top 3 low elo supports of the patch are Seraphine, Brand, and Zyra. A few of the best bans for support include Renata Glask, Seraphine, and Yuumi. Alright guys, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a little more about SkillCapped. So, we offer a 5-division rank up guarantee, and think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's like a gym membership guaranteeing you'll get ripped. Your local gym would go bust if they offered that, right? Not us. We've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well, in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium league guides on the internet. We add over 20 videos a week, with over 1,600 guides curated into over 100 courses no one can compare. We've also sent challenger players hours into ELO Hell 714 times and counting, where they commentate how to carry live. They also respond to all questions asked. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month if you are serious about improving. So there is an update on what the solo queue meta is looking like after the 12.12b patch. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.